Here's the inside of the rear fender for my MGA, and it was rotted down at the bottom here, and I've got a replacement dog leg in place. It's got a flange. Here's a result of the welding of the flange from the dog leg onto the fender. Over here is a patch piece. This was a very thin area that was all rotted out and rusted. I cut it out. It was still 30 thousandths thick on the other side. So after I got this welded in, I also welded in this patch piece to bring it back to close to original thickness. Same right side fender, only at this point there's a top part where there was a hole over here, which I caused myself when I took the fender off the car. And on the back of it is later going to be welded a bolt, because there is a bolt that comes through in the cockpit area, connects to the fender here, so that's why it has to be repaired. So I've made this patch piece quite similar to the original shape, and I'm going to butt weld that in place. Here's that completed repair at the top, the nut welded behind it, and I've also repaired the matching section on the inside of the car. Here's a view of some additional work I did at the bottom on this patch piece. I found a few holes, so I just fixed those up. Now the other thing I did over here was when I got this fender up on the car, I found that the gap here and the gap up here, there's a square gap in the fender and also up in here that are designed to accept the rubber pieces that are the rubber bumpers where the door closes. I found that I had to mount my fender a little bit rear from where it normally would go in order to get the rear of the car to line up with the rear of the fender with the rear section. Just something I inherited with this car. So because this fender doesn't move quite as far forward as I guess a brand new fender, I had too large a gap over here and down below here. I also had the same problem on the other fender, on the other side, on the left fender. So I made a little piece on both of these. It was about maybe a 1/4 inch wide, maybe an inch long, and I butt welded it into the gap. So I can grind this back as necessary, so that the rubber bumper will fit when this is mated up to the faceplate that goes over in this area in the rear of the door. So that was just another one of those little things I had to deal with to make it all work. Here's that spot where I had the hole, all repaired. Just needs a little filler, some paint, look good. Here's a view from the other side of this repair on the right rear fender, where I have ground these welds down. I'm going to need some filler in there. And here's those new pieces I was just telling you about on the other side. I actually hit it from both sides. This just has to be ground flat, and then once I bring it up to the car, if I need more gap between here and the faceplate for the rubber bumpers, then I will just grind out or cut out as whatever is needed. But problem I was having was this whole area was going to be visible when the faceplate was put on, because it was like a black area because you could see through it, and I wanted that not to be visible. When it's painted, I don't think it will be noticeable. This is at the back end of the rear fenders. They have a bracket, which on mine, one was I had to break off to get the fender off because it was all rusted, and the other one was pretty grody. I got these two replacement brackets from Clark Spares and Restorations. Fitted the fender up to the car. This attaches to a hole in the welds from the bottom, and the screw comes through the rear splash plate and into this. So it holds the fender from wobbling like that at the bottom rear. So both fenders have that piece new. This is the left side fender with the dog leg repair, looking at it from the inside, and also a fill in on the bottom part, but not necessarily on the top part, so that you can't see a gap over here where the rubber pieces go through, and where the front faceplate, rear faceplate at the door doesn't cover the gap. So that's just a little cosmetic thing I had to do to this. This is that same repair on the left side fender at the rear, showing how it looks when the welds are ground. It's extremely solid. it flexes and bends so you can put it on the car correctly. These holes at the bottom here, can't see them very well, there they are. Those have to line up with holes in the sill. And as you can see, I haven't really done much with, I've elongated them a little bit, but other than that, they did line up with my sill repairs. That tells me the bottom of the dog leg is pretty much in correct position. You can also tell by where this gap here between here and the rear of the rocker panel, you want to have a nice even gap, and those are looking good. I'll show you that once I've got these back on the completed car. So the problem with these dog legs is they're not perfect, and sometimes you get a little bit of a tilt this way or that way, or a misalignment over here, and you just have to make it work. This is one of the rear fenders, the back side of the weld. I'm going to fill it in. Here are the two rear fenders. In this case, this is the area that was welded, filled in with filler, and painted. That's that one. This one the same way. Here's a look at the left rear fender with some body filler work I did, not very expert at all. Fortunately, the body shop is going to fix all my mistakes. Over here is the area on the outside where the bottom dog leg was welded in on the left rear. The right rear is very similar.